we started, it just lights me up to see everybody, because I miss them. We don't get to see everybody every day, and I think we have a very close family type operation at URI, and so it's hard. It makes it very unique and very challenging. But like I said, it puts things in perspective, and the biggest thing for us right now is to try to make sure we're following all the recommendations and keeping everybody's being safe.
Well, it's a great point. You talk about communication, and I'll shift it over to you, Coach. What about even guys trying to finish the semester out in terms of student advisors, student athletes trying to complete their coursework? What are some of the items that you're dealing with from a program management perspective?
Well, certainly unprecedented times, Chris, as you guys have mentioned, and it's been challenging, for us as a program and for some of those individuals academically. But let's, first thing is first, it pales in comparison to some of the challenges that, many Americans are now facing. So, prayers to all of them. The challenges that we are facing, are relative to sports and schooling right now, which are obviously very, very serious, but, not life-threatening at all. Our guys have done a great job in regards to communication, and I got to give a lot of that credit to the staff, in particular our academic support system led by Meredith Gibbons. She's been just outstanding in regards to constant communication, making sure that these young men are on task with their assignments, are on course, and they haven't missed a beat, even though they're now learning virtually. But the communication piece has been a little bit tricky, a little bit challenging, but it's something that we're all faced with right now in college athletics.
Thorr, from a collection of AD's perspective across the A10, how often do you speak with that leadership group? And, maybe what are some of the hot button issues elsewhere as well, or places where you can share and draw knowledge, of one another?
Sure. I mean, it's a great group of colleagues, and we actually have a conference call. We just had one tonight at 5 o'clock. We've had one every Thursday at 5 since we all left Brooklyn. And it's another thing that you just realize pretty quickly. We're all facing the exact same challenges, maybe different names, different issues, but whether it's how do we ensure that our student athletes are getting the support that they need, making sure that I'll tell you what, we were sharing ideas about how do we help some of these kids that come from really difficult backgrounds to get some food at home. Those are very similar topics that we're talking about, and trying to come up with unique ways to, at the end of the day, make sure the kids are as safe as they possibly can be and as healthy as they possibly can be.
Well, you guys said it best. I mean, it's certainly all hands on deck for all of us, in trying to effectuate positive change, on a human level, and then obviously, from a particular vocation, whatever we do, trying to make the best of it. So, Thorr, you just mentioned Brooklyn. I think it's a good segue, to this year generally for this basketball team. So I'll shift it over to you, Coach Cox. But 21 wins, 13 conference wins. Obviously, the season cut short. But as you look back on this year, what will you take from it?
Wow, man, I'm just, it all ended in a flash. It's a little bit surreal. Haven't really had an opportunity to reflect on it, particularly with all the, the comings and goings, in this early postseason, a month thus far. But with that being said, congratulations to that team, for what they accomplished this year. This is a group led by two seniors, an outstanding junior who really came together, who really meshed. Who really met those challenges, particularly in the non-conference face-on, and then just grew and kind of, came together as a team. Obviously hit some stumbling blocks down the stretch, but, overall to get that 21 wins in regular season play, and then the excitement of going on to non-conference, we were really excited about, our first tilt on that Friday. But it is what it is. It ended, and at some point, when all of this kind of, dies down, we will have an opportunity as a program, as a school, as an administration, to definitely thank that team and congratulate that team for all of their accomplishments this year.
Great points, Coach. And I wonder, too, with respect to Jeff and Cyril, they're two guys that we've talked about, absolute warriors for this program, and really gave it all, a tough, abrupt ending for both of them. But as you look back on their particular, careers respectively, just reflect on that for us.
Yeah, it's just hard to put into words, the contributions that those guys have made to this program, in a lot of different areas. Let's just start with the culture and the character. They helped establish this culture. They brought tremendous character to this program. They played the right way. They played, with honor. and they led by example. And then, Surreal's case, he led by examples and by word because he loved to talk. But again, just two outstanding young men who really, left their mark here on this program. They'll always be remembered. And they're not only going to just be remembered as great players and guys who contributed to championships here, which they both did, but just for how they went about playing the game and how they went about their everyday lives. I think they're two just well-respected young men in the URI community.
Thorr, obviously, David had the chance to weigh in on those guys personally. So, he's with them, so much, immersed with them on a day-to-day basis. But as you reflect upon their careers, what comes to mind for you?
Oh, I'll tell you, they're a special group, and those two seniors are so much fun. I get to go to I go to practice probably 3 or 4 days a week just to get out of the office and take a walk over and watch Coach Cox lead that group and get to see them work out. And without exception, usually starting with Jeff and Surreal, they'll come over and give me a fist bump and say hello, and the rest of the team sort of does the same thing. And it's great to see that. That excitement, enthusiasm, the friendships that they all have, the passion and love that they have with their coach and the coaching staff. They're just a lot of fun to be around. And Jeff and Surreal, two very different types of leaders, in my opinion. Jeff, very quiet, cerebral, and but just a fierce competitor. And Surreal,
Surreal's not quiet.
He's not quiet. And I remember really getting to know Surreal his freshman year. And I said, man, when you graduate, I can tell you're going to be one of my favorite student athletes of all time. And it took me about a year to get him to smile whenever I saw him, but he's terrific. They're the best. And I'm going to miss them because, and I texted both of them that Thursday night when they were heading back home and just to say, I'm sorry. And I wish you guys had a chance to go out because I know we were going to do great things. We already had an incredible year, a great year. And but it wasn't done yet. We knew we could play for quite a bit longer, and there was a lot of excitement around that. And I just, as so many other seniors missed out on an opportunity, the two that I certainly care most about really missed out on a special opportunity as well. And that would have been to get the 3 NCAA tournaments out of 4 years. And I believe they deserved it, and I believe they would have earned it.
Yeah, certainly a tough ending for everybody. And, but those guys always represented the university with class and grace and obviously terrific play. So they were ambassadors in every sense of the word. As we shift to another leader, let's talk a little bit about Fats Russell. The year that he had this past year, how he's doing. We know he's testing the NBA draft waters right now. So Coach Cox, for you, what can you say about Fats' year? And then just maybe get people up to speed on the level of communication you've had with him, where he's at, those types of things.
Well, it was just an awesome experience. And I'll talk about the experience of watching this young man grow, from a freshman, who came in here with, a tremendous amount of confidence, but obviously had to kind of wait his turn and learn to play, with some more mature players at the time. And then, going into his sophomore year with all the expectations, not only that we placed on him, as a staff and as a program, as a team, but that, obviously the fan base placed on him as well. And then watching his growth from, obviously from last year to this particular season where he had not only outstanding numbers and outstanding production, but he just led and his game evolved. So, it was amazing to watch the transition. And, I'm really excited and happy for him to have this opportunity right now in his lifetime. And again, it's a lifetime dream, of all basketball players, but specifically, college Division I basketball players to play at the highest level. And, you can't invite yourself, onto that particular market. You've got to earn your way. And he's earned his way and he's going through the process, and we wish him the best.
Coach, what kind of communications have you had with him since he entered the process? And, how's it going? Just any way that you can help fans understand, maybe a little bit of the nuts and bolts of what goes into this time period for players.
Sure. Well, we do talk constantly, as a staff, and obviously I reach out to the players, via text, via FaceTime. We have the Zoom meetings, so we're in constant communication. In regards to Fats in particular, he's kind of resting his body up a little bit from the long year, but at the same time, he's a gym rat and he's hungry and he's hungry for this opportunity. So he's also been training. He's also been running. He's also been playing a little bit and trying to eat well. and trying to get his mind right. And again, just, for the fans, just so you can understand, again, as I mentioned before, this is a dream, this is a dream come true for this, possibly for this young man. And he's earned this right, to go through this process. And it's a win-win for all. It's a win-win for the program. It's a win-win for his family. And it's obviously a win-win for him, as we recruit, high-level basketball players, and we sell them on the fact that we will win here at a very high level. They will develop, their games, and they will have the opportunity to play at the highest level. This is an example of that.
Thanks, Coach. You talk about eating well, and that's something that I'm definitely not doing right now. I got the refrigerator pretty much, within a quick jog downstairs, and I'm lucky I'm wearing a collared shirt. I think this is the first time I've worn a collared shirt since, maybe mid-March. So this is great. Got me up, showered, all that kind of stuff.
There we go.
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the NCAA transfer rule. And let's talk about it from a macro level first. There's the possibility of the anticipation of the immediate eligibility. Would like to get both of your thoughts on that. And then Thorr in particular, are you hearing anything within the administrative circles, that you obviously, are part of?
Yeah, I'll start first, if that's all right with you, Coach. I mean, from more of a macro level, I really believe this is going to happen. When it happens, when it becomes effective, I don't know. We talk a lot about it on our A10 calls, and there's a lot of different thoughts around it. Certainly, I think the coronavirus impact and the timing of things certainly gives a little bit of pause. The rationale behind this one-time transfer is to try to treat all student athletes the same. Every sport other than football and men's and women's basketball and maybe baseball and there maybe hockey too, I don't know, are able to do this one-time transfer. And so a part of it is I'm sure it's all the lawsuits that the NCAA has been going through may have helped drive some of this. And I believe it is going to happen. Now, is it going to happen for this coming fall? The jury's out. I don't know. I, for one, think it should. I mean, if we're going to make a decision to go down a certain pathway, and if the decision and vote is going to be voted on in April or May from the NCAA structure perspective, then I think we're deciding that at some point this is a good decision, and we should go forward with it. And if that's the case, then I believe that certainly the students that have committed last week to schools that they want to transfer to, they've made that decision, they've made that commitment. The universities have made that commitment to them. Let them play. I mean, that just makes sense to me. Now, if all of a sudden we decide that, or a student gets maybe decides to transfer in the summer, okay, then I get that. That may be too late. I know there's a lot of worry about APR. There's a lot of worry about academics. There's a lot of worry about tampering. Those are things that we just have to sort of work our way through. But at the end of the day, it's these kids want to play, and our jobs are to give them a chance to get a great education first and foremost. And if they're in position to transfer into a school eligible in good academic standing, then they should be able to play basketball too. I think a lot of times these kids have great success academically when their lives are very structured. And when you're in here and you're participating and you're truly part of a team without having to sit out, I think there's a real benefit to that. That may be a different perspective than a lot of ADs have. It's just how I feel. If we're going to go down this pathway, let's go.
Right. Yeah. Don't get half married to it. Coach Cox, what's your impression of it, or your take on a macro level?
Well, there are many layers, obviously to this particular, situation that we're in. And the NCAA, I would agree with Thorr, they do need to make a decision, and they need to stick with this particular decision. I would imagine that the amount of lawsuits as well, from individuals who did not receive waivers in the past couple of years, might have had something to do with this recommendation for this type of legislation. And you know what? It's an individual decision for each of these kids, and they do deserve the right, absolutely, to make these decisions and to go on and to play. And I do not, think that this has anything to do with character. When you talk about kids choosing to transfer, a lot of times you talk, directly, you begin to speak about character in these young men. And I don't think it's a reflection of their character. I think it's just, an opportunity that's presented themselves. And just, oftentimes human nature is, unfortunately, you're sometimes as loyal as your options, and the effect that it will have specifically, on mid-major programs, specifically conferences like the Atlantic 10, it will be tough. It will be tough because you have, different schools, obviously at different levels, specifically the Power Five, who have a lot to offer in regards to, resources or facilities and things of that nature. So they become very attractive to guys who are at our level and having some degree of success. So it's going to happen. I do agree. We're going to have to deal with it, and we're going to have to adapt to these particular times, which is something that, my staff and I have talked about a lot over the last couple of years. And we've made those adjustments, in our particular, recruiting philosophies.
Chris,
So-
along those lines, if I could too, I mean, the A-10 as a whole really has been very fortunate in the current transfer structure where we have lost some kids, but you know what, we've got a lot of great ones that have come here too. So to Dave's point, I think coaches, and he and his staff have done a great job of sort of thinking about what this rule could be like and how it's going to impact them. And I certainly think the A-10 being one of the top, certainly the top 8 leagues in the country, may see some benefit. We're going to lose some kids. We obviously, we've lost some kids here at Rhode Island, and there's some other kids in the A-10 that have made decisions to transfer. But I also think, when you think about some of the kids that coaches, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it, but some of the kids that have made the decision to come here and transfer here as well. I mean, that's the nature of the game now. I think what we have to do is make sure that our fans get a chance to really get to know these kids, even if they come in as freshmen or as sophomores and juniors, and even seniors or fifth-year kids, because we have such a unique thing to sell here at Rhode Island. We have an incredible fan base that loves our players, and I think sometimes when you have transfers, the fans get disappointed because they get to know these kids and they want to see them through and they want to see them graduate. And you know what? For the most part, they're going to be able to do that. But I think what makes Rhode Island really, really special and very cool is how much our fans truly love these kids, not only as basketball players, but as young people that, from 20 years from now, they're going to look back at some of these kids that are on this current team and just remember them with great memories and great thoughts. And that's what we have to do to make sure that our fans continue to have that experience and that access.
So you guys both said a lot. So let's take a minute and unpack it, because I think it's a really good segue from a macro level to more of a program level. So we know that transfers are commonplace now. We've had, I think the portal's at almost 800, right? We got about 355 schools. So you're averaging, just on a pure average, 2.5 transfers per school. And the portal's not done amassing and accumulating names in it, right? There are a couple months left. We've obviously had a few here at Rhode Island who have left within the last 3 weeks to a month or so. So when you look at that overall landscape, and Coach Cox, to your point, you're always assessing. As you assess the specific impact on the program, when you get into things that you can, let's say, massage or control, are there any areas that you're looking at? What do you see? I know there's a susceptibility, right? The Atlantic 10 in a general sense. It's not a guppy in the college basketball world by any means, but it's not a tiger. It's not a great white shark either, right? So you have the ability sometimes maybe to pluck down, but you're also going to have some bright lights, type opportunities for kids who, like you said, they see something come along. So as you look at this as a staff, how do you assess that and pivot moving forward?
Sure. Well, we've got to adjust. We've got to adjust with the times, which is what a number of schools and programs and staffs at this level, are doing, some to various degrees of success. This program has, always been successful in regards to recruiting very high level talent coming out of high school. It's just a very attractive program, because of the school, because of the facilities, and obviously because of the tremendous fan base, but, just in regards to, it all here. I kind of lost my place here. Chris, can you?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. So, in a general sense, if you go back from somewhat of a, like, even if I look at things from a business perspective, management, you're always kind of doing a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats that are out there.
Gotcha.
That you sort of calibrate and collect your staff around these things. Like you said, you just have to continue to pivot. You wrote the letter to Rhody Nation a few days ago, about continuing to stay the course, and obviously you've amassed something here, and from the time back.
I don't think our philosophy will necessarily change, Chris. I mean, we're going to continue with this school again. This is what this program, this is what this administration, this fan base expects. They expect us to compete at the highest level. They expect us to compete for Atlantic 10 championships. And with that being the case, we've got to recruit at a high level, and we've recruited, some high major talent. And unfortunately, it just so happened that, the bug came our way this particular time around in regards to attracting some of our guys, to the higher level. Just in regards to transfers, and I think I might have had this discussion with someone else, recently. In this day and age, there are really two types of transfers. They're the transfers who leave because of lack of playing time. Sometimes, they could be a little bit delusional, I'll put it that way. And sometimes it's because the coach didn't see it, and again, that falls on the coach. Then the other ones are, particularly at this particular stage, are the ones who just have always aspired to play at the highest level for whatever reasons, for their own pride or personal, goals that they set, or for all of the, the attention that might come with it. So that's going to continue to happen. I think, again, what we have to do as a staff is just continue to, speak to these young men to find out, really what drives them at the end of the day. Are you playing, again, are you playing for, the roadie on the front, or are you playing for necessarily the name on the back? We want to continue to attract those who want to come here and play for Rhode Island. And I'm really excited about the guys we've got coming in, because some of them have had some college experiences. They know exactly what they were looking for. They know exactly where we're at and what we're looking for. And they're perfect complementary pieces. And I think they're going to mesh, they're going to mesh really well. So, when you talk about adjustments, we're always in constant communication, trying to stay ahead of the curve, But in regards to, again, you started it. There are transfers right now. They're probably going to be 1,000, in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
This waiver rule happens to take place in another month or so. We could see up to 1,500 or so transfers. What are we going to do? Cry about it? Not at all. We're going to adjust. We're going to pivot. And I feel so confident here at Rhode Island with all that we have to offer. All the successes we've had recently, the trajectory of the program and of the team, obviously great season this year, didn't end the way we wanted to, but we were heading the right way. I'm excited about the future.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about, some of the guys you mentioned in terms of the incoming classes as well. Thorr, to bring back to you for a minute at the departmental level. And again, I agree with you, Coach. I think you made some really good points. It's not necessarily a tectonic plate shift in ideology here, but there's always a yearning to make sure that you're optimizing. And it seems like, that's exactly what you and your staff are committed to. Thorr, from your perspective, from an overall departmental level, level of investment, branding, infrastructure, where's your mind at these days on that?
Oh, I first of all don't think you ever want to stop. You want to keep investing and going. But let me say, based on what Coach Cox has done and based on what this program has been in the last 5 years, one of the top 2 or 3 programs in the A10. And I'm very proud of our program, and I'm very proud of the investment. And I'm very proud of the university support. I'm very proud of the fan support. All that said doesn't mean we stop and settle. We never stop and settle. We've got to keep investing. We've got to keep, making sure that this is, as much as anything, that our kids know that it's really important. It's really important to the university. It's really important to our fan base to make sure that they're having a great experience. So, when we talk about, it's funny, I was talking to someone today and we talked about the practice facility and the person actually said to me, he said, you went to 2 NCAA tournaments in the last 3 years without a practice facility. And I said, you're exactly right, but that doesn't mean we can't work towards getting one. Why do we want one? We practice 97% of the time in the Ryan Center, which is nobody does. That's great. That's a real good home court advantage. We want the guys to be able to go out at 10 o'clock at night and get in access to a gym and go play. I mean, in talking with Coach Cox, when we hired Dave, I said, Dave, is that still your top priority? And he said, yes, it is. My guys need to know they can go play. And my guys need to know that the university cares. And again, those are the things that we keep making sure that they realize by making different levels of investment. Where we were 7 or 8 years ago compared to where we are today is a different program. That's great. But if we sit back on our laurels, we're going to take all the positive steps forward and go right back in the rearview mirror. And we can't let that happen. We won't let that happen. Not with a great coach like we have, not with the great players that we have, and not with I keep talking about our fans, but I think we have the best home court advantage, one of the best in the country. And we got 3 in the A10 that are spectacular, and I put us right up there with them. So no, we want to keep working hard, and we know we need support. We need the support from our donors, and they've been supportive. They've been great, and we're going to keep going back at them and saying, hey, our top priority is this practice facility for our men's and women's basketball program. Let's go get it done. Got to do it.
Guys, let's shift gears a little bit. And David, you alluded to it a few moments ago, but you're welcoming a talented class of incoming freshmen and transfers, who, again, speaking to the success of the program, 2 kids from Maryland that are coming in, and you've been able to attract transfers from high majors as well. So can you discuss a little bit about the class collectively? Maybe not per guy, but just talk about the transfers and then the incoming freshmen in groups.
Sure. So relatively big size collective group, and a very talented, very versatile group of guys that are coming in. In regards to, let's just say we'll group the twins, together. I mean, again, they've got college experience now, at least for a semester. They played at a high level in high school, and they were both ranked, top players in the country. They're going to bring, obviously tremendous size, athleticism, and just skill, and hopefully a degree of maturity since they've been in college for a year. And then, I'm obviously really excited about, Hassan's brother. I hate to point anybody out specifically, but, again, a Martin, to have another Martin back here, on campus. I'm really, really excited about Malik, and he's just our type of guy. Excited also, obviously, about the 2 freshmen. The 3 freshmen we have coming in here. Those guards, that guard play that we'll get from them will give us tremendous depth. Will give us, tremendous, firepower kind of coming in off the bench. Obviously, these pieces are going to have to mesh. That's our job. But, again, we felt like when we went through this recruiting process that, we asked the right questions. Time will tell. It's a leap of faith on both parts, to a certain degree. But again, this is the new landscape, and we're really excited about the additions.
Coach, let's jump a little bit to remaining scholarships. We know you can't talk specifically about guys, of course, but are there any archetypes of players or roles that you're looking for? You get 2 scholarships available, and how likely are you to perhaps award them both versus one? I'm sure that's all up in the air, but just anything you can help fans understand would be great.
Well, each roster, consists of 13 scholarship players. We have 11 scholarships issued as of this time. Most coaching staffs, I shouldn't say most, some coaching staffs choose not to use all 13. I like that philosophy, actually. So I don't think that I'll use all 13. We keep one for potential mid-season transfer or something to that, degree. So in filling this, this last scholarship, we feel that we have a very strong front court, and we obviously feel that we've got a dynamic backcourt, and now we've got some good depth. Obviously with losing, the players that we lost, that wing position is going to need to be addressed. So, we're looking at, the best available player, that happens, to kind of fit that mold.
And Coach, it brings me back real quickly. We had a fan question come in about the likelihood that you both feel that the immediate eligibility of transfer rule may come in. Do you have any gut feeling on that, either of you? We got to get it out there, because go ahead.
I'm gonna start, Coach. I think our fans, for the benefit of our 3 transfers, let's do a little quick prayer that will be. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about it. I think, there's probably a 50-50 thought process behind it. We'll know very quickly, probably in the next month of what it's going to look like. And we're going to move forward with, we're already, moving forward with planning in case it doesn't. And I think, again, it's an important statement that we can make. And to me, it's in the best interest of these young people that have made the decision early enough in their times, in the calendar year to make a move to a different school. So the answer to the question straight up, we don't know. I would say it's probably 50-50 right now. But I think from a legal perspective, it certainly makes you think that if we're going to go down this pathway, why wait? Why not do it immediately, in my opinion?
Yeah, Chris. I don't really have a feel one way. A little bit above my pay grade. Whatever the decision is, we'll make adjustments and move forward accordingly.
Fair enough. Mine too. So, Coach, I want to backtrack to something that you just said a moment ago about the front court. Got a couple of returning front court players in Antoine and Jermaine. Just your thoughts about their play and perhaps some of the growth that they need to do in terms of individual player development in the offseason and conversations that you've had with them.
Well, first of all, we're going to miss Surreal. Again, I don't mean to begin talking about those two by talking about Surreal, but we are going to miss Surreal, the energy, the production that he brought on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think the benefit again of a Surreal is that those guys had the opportunity to practice against him every single day last year, so they know what he brought, they know how he worked every day, and they had great experiences against him, and hopefully those experiences will bode well for both of them as they move forward and assume a little bit more responsibility on this team in regards to offensive production. But I'm excited about both of those guys moving forward.
And then, Coach, you had a couple of guys, sitting out last year as well, in Jeremy Shepard and DeVale Johnson, DJ, but had the ability to be around the program, understand what the culture's about, the level of intensity at practice, et cetera. What are you expecting from those guys coming into this year?
Well, DeVale Johnson, again, an outstanding young man, first of all. I hope Brody Nation really gets an opportunity to get to know him throughout the year. This is a young man who had basically played, 3 or 4 years of organized basketball. And, just think about that for a second. He's playing Division I basketball at a very high level, and he's only played about 3 or 4 years of organized basketball. So he's got a tremendous talent and natural skill set. And I think he, was able to utilize this year to gain a little bit of weight and gain a little bit more knowledge, about the college game. He is an unbelievable shooter. An unbelievable shooter with tremendously long arms. So he'll definitely, help us in that, bring tremendous value to our team in regards to shooting the basketball, and he'll give our backcourt, some tremendous depth. And he's a versatile player as well, so I can kind of plug him in different positions. In regards to Jeremy, you're talking about just a seasoned veteran who's been chomping at the bit to get out there and play. Brody Nation will love what they see from Jeremy Shepard. I promise you that. He is a dynamic point guard with ability to shoot the ball at a very high level, to get the spaces on the floor. He's just a pass first type of kid, but he brings a toughness and a kind of a confidence and a swagger with his game. And again, he's a fifth. This will be his 5th year in college, so he's going to bring that wisdom and that veteran leadership as well.
Cool. Thanks, Coach. We let's shift the schedule for a minute. I want to remind fans, we only got a couple more questions here. So if you want to try to tuck one in, now's the time. But Coach, in terms of scheduling, we know that scheduling, there's really a science to it. And again, particularly when you're at a level like the Atlantic 10 level, right? Because you're certainly at a high enough level where you scare away some high majors from wanting to play you, and it becomes sort of an art form to try to put it together. Where are you at in terms of amassing the schedule, and how do you feel about that right now?
Well, to be honest with you, Chris, I thought we had finally kind of gotten this moving target mastered last season. When I say moving target, just meaning, when talking about the NCAA tournament, talking about the Ken Palm, and then talking about RPIs, and then talking about quadrants and the kind of things that they put in place, to make it a little bit more difficult for non-Power 5 schools to make it into the tournament. We thought we kind of had it figured out coming into this year by scheduling as tough as we did in the non-conference, finishing off the non-conference at 8-4, and then obviously, finishing the season with 21 wins. And even with that being said, we were on the outside kind of looking in, needed a run in the Atlantic 10 tournament. So, with that, all that being said, yes, it is very, very tricky. And, we are in the midst of kind of figuring out, a few more games to finish out this non-conference schedule. But we are excited with where we're at thus far.
Great. We got a comment/question from a fan. I don't know if it's because your view's been playing all these classic Rhode Island games lately. We got the last game in Keeney Gym against the Bonnies, and then the opener against USC Southern Cal at the Ryan Center. But fan wants to see an exhibition at Keeney or something for nostalgia. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I'll tell you, it's probably going to take a little bit to get that thing up and running to put it in position to host even an exhibition game. Keeney's got great, great history and great tradition. It's fun to walk by there every day, and but there's technology that's kind of in order to get that gym up to be able to compete even in an exhibition with shot clocks and scoreboards and sound systems and all that stuff. It becomes a little bit of a challenge, but hey, nothing's ever out of the question, right, Coach?
No, not at all. We actually enjoy the days when we have to head down to Keeney, to practice. The nostalgia, you can feel it. You can hear the squeak, the squeaking of the floor and the ball kind of bouncing. It's just a different little echo in that arena, and you can, it feels good to come down there every once in a while. Thor, we've got to try to figure it out how we can, get in there for a game. Maybe we'll have to get Vinny on board with this.
We'll get him on board. Good idea.
Nice. All right. Well, we're just about to wrap it, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention and shift sports a little bit. First of all, if I don't get us off the air, I'm going to get flogged by somebody. But we've got the NFL draft tonight. We got a couple of highly talented wide receivers from the University of Rhode Island who figure potentially to hear their names called tonight. Just your thoughts, guys, on that and your excitement to hunker in and watch the draft, the third piece of original content and programming that we will all see this week.
Sure. Thor, you should probably start with this one. I'm sure you're excited as anybody in this state.
Coach, somebody just said they loved you, by the way. I just wanted some fan came in. Chris, please tell Coach that I love him. So consider me the messenger. I'm passing it along.
Coach, I'm the one that wrote that.
I was wondering why the initial.
David Cox, that's my wife.
That's right. No, I'll tell you, we're very excited about these three guys. Our Isaiah and Aaron and Kyle, three great players, three great young men who have really represented themselves very well. They did a great job in the combine. I mean, we've never had three that were invited to the combine, and three young men that went out and did a great job. I know there's a lot of Rhodey fans that are going to be watching the draft. It's been a long time since we had a player drafted. I think it was Bob White in 1986 was the last time that we had a player drafted, and we have a chance for three. And credit to them, credit to Coach Fleming and his staff. These three kids, and I know Coach knows a couple of them very well. Coach Cox does, and I've gotten to know certainly Isaiah and Aaron and Kyle over the last 3 and 4 years. Aaron became just a person that I could go to and ask questions of, and get a vibe and how things are. What do we need to do? And he became a real leader. Someone I'm really proud of. I'm proud of all three, and I can't wait to watch the draft over the next couple of days.
Thor, I want to thank you for cleaning up my mess. This is why I only cover the basketball team, right? So I'm talking about two guys here. I got a family. I got 14 Atlantic 10 basketball teams, and I'm like Cliff Clavin on here. The Jeopardy question is just gone. So thank you.
That's all right. Don't you worry.
Coach Cox, any thoughts on those guys?
Absolutely. Exciting times for Rhodey Nation. A lot of credit has to go to Jim and the staff for identifying those guys, back in high school, developing them, giving them obviously the platform and letting those guys, both of them soar, in regards to the wide receivers. I didn't know Kyle as well, but obviously, I'm a huge college football fan, so I got an opportunity to watch him thoroughly this year, just knowing going into the year that, he was kind of on the, on the NFL's radar. And in regards to both Aaron and Isaiah, those happen to be two DC guys. I got really close with Aaron as he's been here, and no, I'm really excited for them and for their families, and I can't wait to hear their names called.
Very cool. Thank you, guys, and obviously wish all three of those guys luck tonight, and just want to thank you both for taking the time to hang in there and answer questions for 40 minutes. We thought this might go about 20, but I mean, we've really been rolling. I want to thank all the fans out there as well for tuning into this. We'll do it again for sure. This is great technology. And again, I hope everybody stays healthy out there, your families, that's most important. And again, thank you both so much for taking some time tonight.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, your view. Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Rhodey Nation.
Absolutely. Stay safe, everybody.
All right, everybody. Until next time.